Welcome to another episode of Roll Cougs Weekly. I'm Aiden Voorhees.
I'm Kendall Janosko.
And stick around for a special interview at the end of the show with women's lacrosse coach Morgan Comport.
For the week of January 27th to February 2nd, Nick Cyprian was chosen as UCHC Co-Player of the Week for his 2 goals and 1 assist, as well as 2 game-winning goals versus Nazareth. Gino Pecora was also chosen for UCHC Rookie of the Week, his 4th of the season. He collected 2 wins and had a .932 save percentage. For men's and women's swim, the team received the CSCAA Scholar All-American team with a 3.3 team GPA, 5 times for the men's and 21 times for the women's. Hannah Urinek was also named as PAC Swimmer and Diver of the Week, her 4th this season, and Elena Kircher was put on the PAC Honor Roll. For men's, Max Rollins was chosen as PAC Rookie of the Week for his first time this year, and Cal Hockman was selected for the PAC Honor Roll.
Luke Houlihan was awarded PAC Defensive Player of the Week in men's volleyball last week. He recorded 19 digs in Chatham's victory over Mount Aloysius, which was the most by any player in the PAC this season. Levinson Xavier was named PAC Player of the Week in men's basketball. He averaged 26.5 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 1.5 assists on the week. For the season, he leads the Cougars with 6.6 rebounds per game.
On Friday, January 31st, the men's and women's swim teams were at Day 1 of the Western PA Invitational in Pittsburgh, PA. Hannah Urinek had a Chatham record in the 200 butterfly with a time of 2:12. Elena Kircher had a season-best time in the 500 freestyle with 5:35. And Adela Holland had a lifetime best time in the 100 breaststroke with a time of 1:14. For the men's, Cal Hockman had a Chatham record for the 200 individual medley with a time of 2:04.11. On Saturday, February 1st, the men's and women's swim teams were at Day 2 of the Western PA Invitational. Elena Kircher had a lifetime best in the 400 individual medley with a time of 5:10, and in the 1650 freestyle, a lifetime best time of 19.51. Hannah Urinek had a season best time in the 100 butterfly with 59.32, and Max Rollins had a lifetime best and Chatham best in the 50 freestyle with a time of 21.91. The men's PAC record right now is 1-4 with an overall record of 1-7, 5th in the PAC, and the women's PAC record is 2-4 with an overall record of 4-5, 7th in the PAC.
Women's basketball defeated Waynesburg 84-59 last Wednesday, with Ashley Loudon leading the Cougars with 24 points scored, 4 assists, and 2 blocks. Sharjay Brock had 9 rebounds, Alyssa Lockus had 2 blocks, and Leah Harkenrider had 5 steals for Chatham. Then on Saturday, February 1st, women's basketball got another victory, this time 64-59 over Grove City. Hannah Chenault had 19 points and 3 steals. Sharjay Brock had 4 assists and 3 steals. Alyssa Lockus grabbed 9 boards, and Zelly Rodriguez had 3 takeaways and a blocked shot. Women's basketball improves to 12-3 in the PAC this season. They are 13-6 overall, and they sit at 3rd place in the conference. The men's basketball team defeated Waynesburg 82-74 on Wednesday. Levinson Xavier had a huge game with 33 points and 2 blocks. Xavier Green grabbed his career-high 10 rebounds, and Dion Pinkett dished out 3 assists and had 7 takeaways for the Cougars. On Saturday, February 1st, Chatham defeated Grove City 72-60, getting their revenge for their loss earlier in the season. Levinson Xavier again topped 20 points. He had 20 in the game. Dion Pinkett had 6 rebounds and a block, and Blaine Gartley had 7 assists and 5 steals. Men's basketball is now 14-1 in conference play, good for first place. They are 17-3 on the season.
On Friday, January 31st, the women's ice hockey team played their first game against SUNY Canton and won in the shootout. The Chatham goals came from Clara Mueller for the 4th of her season, assisted by Liv McTavish. Clara Mueller for the 2nd of the game and 5th of the season, assisted by Clarissa Hayes. and Annabelle Loda for the 4th of her season, assisted by Kylie Shannon. Then on Saturday, February 1st, the women's ice hockey team played their second game against SUNY Canton, losing 0-4. On Friday, January 31st, the men's ice hockey team played their first game against Nazareth and won 3-2 in overtime. The Chatham goals came from Brandon Pomerantz for the second of his season, assisted by True Crow and Nick Cyprian. Michael Roby for the 5th of his season, assisted by True Crow and Cadson Johnson. And Nick Cyprian for the 8th of his season, unassisted. And then on Saturday, February 1st, Chatham played their second game against Nazareth and won again in overtime, this time 4-3. The Chatham goals came from Milan Cermak for the 3rd of his season, assisted by Evan Mitchell. Michael Roby for the 6th of his season, assisted by Dylan Young. Beck McLean for the 4th of his season, assisted by Zach Connor and Cadson Johnson. And Nick Cyprian for the 9th of his season, assisted by Zach Connor and Kyle Contessa.
On Saturday, men's volleyball grabbed a 3-1 victory over Mount Aloysius. Logan Pack put away 14 kills to lead Chatham. Benjamin Shellstack had 12 kills and an ace. Tim McCabe put away 11 kills and had 8 digs. Jacob Kortz had 5 block shots for Chatham. RJ Nag had 38 assists, and Luke Houlihan had his 19 digs, most in the season in the pack. Men's volleyball is now 2-4 on the season.
On Saturday, February 1st, the men's and women's indoor track and field teams traveled to the YSU Mid-Major Invitational. Ariel Bruner once again led the Cougars, this time coming in first in the long jump.
Men's squash took on Denison on Saturday, winning their match 8-1 against the Big Red. Sebastian Antonio Vaca Sanchez had a sweep in his match. Other sweeps for the Cougars included Augustin Carranza, Lucas Oliveira, and Kiel Christopher Beasley. Women's squash fell in their match to Denison 6-3 on Saturday. Sofia Pinto, Vasundra Vasanthan, and Clara Braga all swept their matches in the effort for the Cougars.
Coming up this week on Friday, February 7th, the men's ice hockey team will play their first game against Utica at 7 p.m. And then on Saturday, February 8th, they will play their second game against Utica at 3 p.m. The head-to-head history between the two teams is 0-15, and their last match on November 23rd of 2024 ended in a 4-3 Chatham loss. Utica's UCHC record right now is 12-1-1 with an overall record of 16-2-1, third in the UCHC, 2 spots ahead of Chatham. Then women's ice hockey will also play their first game against Manhattanville at 7 p.m. And then on Saturday, February 8th, will play their second game against Manhattanville at 3 p.m. The head-to-head history between the two teams is 3-12, and their last match on November 23rd of 2024 ended in a 5-2 Chatham loss. Manhattanville's UCHC record right now is 2-4-0 with an overall record of 4-13-2, third in the UCHC, 1 spot ahead of Chatham.
On Wednesday, February 5th, women's basketball will face Franciscan for the second time this season. That'll be a 6 p.m. tip-off. Head-to-head, Chatham is 17-1 all-time against the Barons, and they defeated them 96-48 on New Year's Eve earlier this season. Franciscan comes in at 2-13 in the pack and 2-18. Overall, they are currently 10th place in the conference standings. Men's basketball will tip off after that one against the Barons. They are 11-1 overall against Franciscan all-time, and they defeated them 66-51 on New Year's Eve. Franciscan is 5th in the pack with an 8-7 conference record, 4 spots behind the Cougars. On Saturday, February 8th, the basketball teams will be at home again, this time taking on Teal College. Women's will tip off at 12 p.m. They defeated Teal 97-49 earlier this year. Teal comes in at 0-15 in the pack this season, 11th place in the conference standings. Men's basketball will tip off on the other side of that doubleheader. Chatham defeated Teal 86-74 on November 16th. Teal is 5-10 in the pack and 6-13 overall. They are 9th place in the conference.
And then on Saturday, February 8th, the men's and women's swim teams will be at Westminster at 11 a.m. for their last regular season meet in New Wilmington, PA.
Coming up this week on Tuesday, February 4th, men's volleyball will take on Penn State Altoona. That'll be at Altoona at 7 p.m. The Nittany Lions took the first match of the season 3-0 in the team's first meeting. They come in at 3-4 overall. On Friday, February 7th, men's volleyball will have their home opener against Penn State Behrend with a 7 p.m. start time. Chatham defeated Penn State Behrend 3-2 on January 25th of this season. Penn State Behrend comes in at 2-6 overall. All right, I'm here with Chatham women's lacrosse coach Morgan Comport. Thanks for joining us, Coach. You're in your third year coaching at Chatham. How's the experience been for you for the Cougars?
It's been a blessing. There's been a lot of obviously challenging moments, but super rewarding for the most part. It's my first, take on, not college coaching, but first take on being a head coach at the collegiate level. So it's overall, it's been a blessing, a joy. Definitely more happy times than sad, for sure.
Yeah, you got your start at Mountain State for their development program in West Virginia. How did that help prepare you and prepare the athletes for the college experience?
I would say, so with my background being from West Virginia, which is a very non-traditional lacrosse area, just being able to get on, their level of hard work, outshines no matter what, that's one of the most important things. I think that, when in transitioning from high school athletes to then college athletes, some of the big things that had helped me, with being from West Virginia, would be talking about them through, hey, it doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter what your background's in, hard work always beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
You were an assistant coach at Seton Hill before coming to Chatham. You're actually assistant for the field hockey team. What was that experience like?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, we don't have field hockey in West Virginia, so I knew not much about field hockey other than some of my college roommates were field hockey players. So I grew up at Seton Hill, watching the game. But really it was, I helped take on that role, kind of, I don't want to say a favor, but kind of like, it wasn't my main role. My main role was lacrosse, but it was to help build, confidence in a culture, which is something I'm super positive, or, super confident about, and super, I would say is like big foundation in my coaching philosophy in general. So it was a challenge, but overall, I think it's a huge learning experience. So yeah.
You've reached new heights with this Chatham women's lacrosse team, reaching the PAC semifinals last season. What are you looking for out of your team this season?
Yeah, so I think one thing that we talked about, as a coaching staff a lot this year is building a championship culture. That's huge. Not necessarily a championship team, but a championship culture. And with having that championship culture comes that championship team. I think building a championship team, yes, you may win here and there, but when it comes to building that culture and that positive atmosphere and that hardworking, team culture, camaraderie, that has been huge for us, and not just gotten us, wins here and there, but has gotten us to, that extra step forward every year. So that's what, we're looking for that PAC championship this year. That's was part of my, inside 3-year goal. I always joked that my first year was year 0 because, you just step in and it's like, oh, maybe, this is going to be a little more difficult than I thought. But no, we are, we're building a championship culture, which, in turn looks at hopefully a PAC championship. That's what we're looking for.
How do you build that championship culture? What do you look for in athletes that you recruit to Chatham?
Yeah, good question. So I am huge about core values. We use the acronym Cougs, and that's like our, no pun intended, obviously we're the Cougars, but We have 5 core values as a team that we've established from the very beginning. You know, when coming to Chatham, C stands for commitment. O stands for our integrity, right? Like doing the right thing no matter who's watching. U stands for being that uncommon athlete and unity. G stands for grit, and S stands for self-discipline. So all of those 5 we, firmly believe in is something that isn't necessarily hard for me. It's kind of how I was raised and born, and that's just my morals in general. So implementing that into our team values and into the girls I wouldn't say it's been necessarily challenging, because I think the girls are very like, oh, we had a coach who wants to win. She believes in us, but it has been, at times something new to kids coming in. When we're recruiting, I want good humans. I think that, of course, athletically, that's something that we look at first, right? I want that resilient, hardworking athlete that would run through a brick wall for their teammate. If they're going to run through a brick wall for their teammate, they're definitely going to run through a ground ball on the field. But overall, I think being a good human, we got a bigger purpose in this world. It's one of my firm beliefs, and we want good humans. And with that, in turn, comes, great teammates, great play. They're not just playing for themselves, they're playing for a bigger purpose, they're playing for their teammates.
Got a scrimmage coming up next week, getting the season underway. What does your typical game day routine look like?
Yeah, so my routine or the teams?
You personally.
Yeah. Mine, I'm a huge podcaster and, motivational podcast, all that kind of stuff. I'm also very faith-based, so I listen to a lot of things that put me in a good spirits and put me in a good mood. I also always do a 2-mile walk, so no matter what campus we're at, we get there in enough time because I gotta get my walk in. So I put my headphones in, listen to my podcast, get myself in the zone. I think it always helps when I feel level-headed, and that usually helps me make sure when I communicate to the girls that I'm not, because inside I'm like, let's go, it's game day. I'm pumped too. It's great to have that energy, but also being composed so that you can, think clearly and work.
Now you've been in Pittsburgh for a few years. What's your favorite thing to do in the area?
Well, my husband and we're foodies. We love, and he's huge into like Thai and noodles, and there's a lot of ramen and noodle places around here. So if I had to pick, like, food is definitely a favorite in our family. But really, just no matter where I'm at, I think spending time with family is like huge for me. It's just that's what keeps me going is my family and faith, and so if I had to, it really wouldn't matter where I'm at. My husband's born and raised Pittsburgh fan, loves it. I'm like, well, I like the Mountaineers, but I guess I'll be a Steelers fan or a Pirates fan, whatever I have to be. No, the city's great. I love it. It's hard to just pick one favorite thing.
All right. Thanks, Coach Comport. Chatham women's lacrosse will start the season in a couple of weeks. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Roll Cougs Weekly. I'm Aiden Voorhees.
I'm Kendall Janosko.
And tune back in next week for more Cougar athletics.